Great
How
to
are
see
you?
you guys.
Good
I'm
to
well.
see
How are you?
Very good.
We're good. Yeah, can't complain. It's
Well,
sunny and fall-like here, so that's nice.
I've got my headphones here. I live beside an elementary school, and it's lunch hour for them. So there's usually a pretty.
It could be fun to watch,
It grows on you after a while, yeah.
but also loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear the thunk 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 of that ball compressing as you smack it against the wall.
I don't know what handball is, so that really means nothing to me, but
I guess it depends on how you played handball as a kid. We were those round, fat gym balls that weren't volleyballs, they weren't softball, they were just these big.
Something in between.
Yeah. They're very they were designed in such a way that if you kicked it at another kid and it hit the kid, nobody's getting hurt.
I still don't think that's probably true.
Yeah. I think that's what they've got going on over here anyway. I'm sure there's some regional variation.
I remember growing up, it was that cusp of time between a lot of those laws getting passed around, and handball was also that red and blue and the white stripe ball.
Oh yeah, for
Which
wall
was
ball games.
Yeah, which is essentially a giant squash ball. It just hurt. It hurt so bad.
Yeah, I think as it gets colder, that if you get even a soft ball kicked at your face and your face is cold, that's gonna hurt. It's just gonna hurt. But it taught me that I don't like sports, and I think that's a lesson that I'm really happy with learning about myself.
Yeah.
Builds resilience.
Yeah. And we found ways to hurt ourselves on the playground without any toys, putting ice under your sitting on ice on a metal slide and then sliding down it so that you went super fast and then shot yourself off into a pile of snow. There was I guess the slide existed, but it was our own genius that came up with the danger of that game, and it was a blast. I loved it.
We had a big battle jungle gym at my elementary school, and when I was, I don't know, halfway through anyway, they decided to replace it, right? And so for a fundraiser, the school had auctioned off the key parts of the jungle gym, and one of the teachers anyway bought this sweet spiral slide and installed it at his pool, and you could always see it driving by their place in the backyard.
Love it. That's great. That is super great. Well, we're really happy to have you here, kids, playing in the background or not. And it's just super nice to see your face and to have you join us for our Flat Files today.
Yeah, well, and I know we had talked about getting coffee at some point, so this is a nice way to sort of figure it out,
Yeah, totally. So I assume that you sort of know the essence of the what it's about. So basically we just are sharing 3 arts. It can be, your own art can be included in that.
Yeah.
But also the art of other people that you want to highlight. And then we will also share 3 on our end. Ours are all from other people today. And yeah, but we would love for you to start by kind of introducing yourself and what you do. Say your name as well, because sometimes people don't, but yeah.
Sure. So my name's Brian Hoad, and I'm a visual artist right now in Kingston. I'm one of the technicians over at the Queen's University Visual Art Program. And then in my own artistic practice, really I'm a 2D artist, I would say. So I do a little bit of drawing, a little bit of painting, and some print as well. And I have a few samples of my work here. A lot of it, and I know you guys showed a print earlier on one of the earlier sort of nature and nostalgia. In my time, sort of growing up in Southern Ontario. Oh, can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
perfect.
you're still good.
And then since since the pandemic has happened, I found my work has, I think like a lot of people, changed slightly. You know, I found for myself, I'm working on a bit of a smaller scale with a bit more of a contained setup. I'm making a lot of work at home. So a lot of like 8x10 studies or plein air studies, and pretty monochromatic as well. So I've got a little black and white watercolor.
Nice.
I went on a trip. All of my undergrad roommates were guys I worked with at camp. And so now we get together and we go for these great sort of summer excursions. And we were paddling up in the Temagami. Oh, it's a little too low. The Temagami area. And I just decided to,
do you have a book?
you know, try
This
to.
is horrible. Please take a moment.
Oh yeah, I use it for my Netflix a lot of the time.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I just took a little watercolor block and a black tube of paint and a couple brushes, and it was a really nice way to make some quick work. And really, it was basically like drawing, you know, that kind of a mindset. But it was a nice way, you know, we'd finish our paddle and I just sort of set up, paint for a bit, and then try to do one or two every day. And now I'm trying to find sort of a way to bring that into my oil painting. So it is, this is an oil painting that it's basically just like Payne's Gray over my pinky salmon colored underpainting. And but I mean, you can thin it down in a similar way to watercolor. I'm sure with acrylic, you could have the same effect as well. And again, it's sort of like a nice way then in my studio at home where I can just kind of quickly at the end of the night get like an idea out, and it's a little bit more of an immediate process. And I mean, there's still, I have like 3 or 4 of these. They're in my mind sort of in flux. They could be done now, but I'm wondering if in a few weeks time I'll decide to go in with some color here and there. Yeah, but I found recently I've been working on this big painting for the longest time, a big landscape. And I don't know if you ever find this, it was a pretty ambitious project, and I started to almost feel like, not that it was a chore, but just I kept thinking like, when will I round this up? And when it was done, I decided I really want to mix up the way I've been making work a bit and sort of speed that up. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at now with my own work.
No, I feel that definitely. Like I've been working on smaller, like little panels. They're like 11 by 14.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, for me, it was like trying to see if I can still make the same kind of like mark making on a smaller scale, which turns out not so easy.
Right.
But so now what I like about it is that I want to make them larger. So they're turning into like very labor intensive sketches.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. That's great.
There we go. Yeah.
Which I don't hate. Like they're fully realized paintings that are taking like months to do, but I think they're going to be like nice sketches for like something that's bigger. And I'll have kind of workshopped some of the elements that I like and things that I don't like, which I don't hate it as a process actually, because I do feel that way about like a large piece. Sometimes I have one right now that's been going on for like years and I still just don't like it, and I'm actually considering just sanding it completely down, which maybe I'll record because it might be like a fun thing to like.
I don't think she should.
I think I should. I feel very good about the idea of sanding almost the entire image away and starting again.
Well, there's something funny with sketches, you know, too, where I think like big work is exciting because it's big, and that's that's great. But then when you're working on a small scale, there's a lot of energy happening in that little space. And then when you try to blow it up, I find it's really hard to keep that excitement and all of the marks. So yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like playing and trying to figure out what's working and what's not working. Is that a landline, or is that your phone?
No, it's the school bell.
That's the school bell? It
Pardon
sounds
me?
like a
What?
phone.
No,
Yeah, they
that's a
have a few.
1990s landline.
Yeah, they've got a few funky ones. I don't know if it's maybe the office is going to page, like Billy Smith into the principal's office or what, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. School sounds. That's like something I haven't heard in a long time.
No.
No.
No,
We don't-
public school sounds like, like college doesn't really have sounds, university doesn't really have sounds. But like public school, very specific recess bells.
Yeah, just the noises of a school.
I totally forgotten about like paging down to the office. That's like totally something that like I've forgotten about.
Yeah, well, when I worked in a school last year, or actually it was earlier. No, it was last year. With Jenna Cush, we did a project where we collaborated with a grade 11. I think they were a grade 11, 12 class. Anyways, I forgot about like morning announcements and things just like standard stuff that happens in a school, but when you're not in it.
Every time I go into a school, I forget that there is a no hat rule.
Oh,
Every single time. And
that's the worst.
My hair always looks like this underneath a hat. And it's not good.
Yeah, Billy Smith is always up to no good. Jeez, Billy.
Yeah.
All right, we have a few different arts, and two of them have been selected specifically because we're talking to you. So one is a location specific, and then the other is job specific.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Maybe we'll save those two to the end, and we'll start here.
I had trouble narrowing it down. I've got 5 sitting here, and I'm still trying to decide which will make the.
Oh, I'm just going first. Do you want to go first, or do you want us?
No, you go. I'll riff off you.
I mean, I feel like it kind of does. It's a courtesy. So I know this part is backwards, but it's not that relevant. But because it's just a 2012 calendar. So this is a calendar that we got. Obviously a long time ago by Pistachio Press, which is a shop in Ohio, I think Cincinnati, maybe not still Cincinnati, I'm not sure if they're still there. It's run by a woman named Rachel, and yeah, I think we got this maybe at one of the SGC conferences or online. I can't really remember exactly when we got it or where, but we've held on to it. I do this a lot, and I think a lot of what we end up about is thinking about starting a collection even on a tight budget. So this calendar wasn't expensive. It's fairly small, as you can tell. It's all hand printed though, letterpress. So she uses primarily the polymer plates. Hi, Morgan. It's not in order. But what I like about it is that my plan was to cut off the bottom portion, this part, and either have these all as little separate prints, up as a series on a wall, or transform them into ornaments, or basically figure out different ways to use these prints and keep them as part of our collection, even though the calendar is out of date and I'm not using that part. I mean, I never wrote on the calendar because it's too beautiful, but it's like a cross stitch theme, this particular calendar, so that's why it's all these little X's, which I also really like.
Yeah, it's great.
And no, it's just it's a really nice calendar, and it was super affordable, and now I could basically turn it into a wall piece that's 12 individual pieces of art on a wall that all work well together, which is, I don't know, just something that I think we think about a lot when we're purchasing things or trying to expand the collection that we have, even though our budget is very, very small. The other thing that I really like about Pistachio Press is us, she's really focused on trying to be environmentally conscious. So she's really considerate of the types of cleaners that she uses, the types of paper that she buys, so that it has a low impact on the environment, which I think as printmakers we have to be pretty conscious of. Are there kids being loud?
No, they got buzzed in.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's nice.
This is the first share, like very, like simple, beautiful letterpress work.
And what was the artist's name again?
Her first name is Rachel. I didn't write down her last name. The shop is Pistachio Press. I think it's like Hetzel, Hetzel, Hetzel. I don't know. That's like a shot in the dark. I could be wrong on that.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah, that's our first little share.
Okay. Well, I think I'll share. Oh, geez. I've had a few. 1 second. I'm going to move my tea. I was like, I can't drop any of the prints and I can't spill my tea on everything. Those are my 2 rules. Okay, so my first, the prints that I have picked, and actually there's one drawing. We'll see what I end up going with here. A lot of the work is sort of a nod back to when I was in Regina for my grad studies program.
Nice.
And
Experience Regina. That song comes into my head every time now.
It's like maybe the world's best and worst tourism. Yeah. But again, like you guys were saying, starting print collection on a budget, a lot of these are the result of trades or exchanges that I was just really happy to be either a part of or able to like approach the people to exchange work. So this print, I'm gonna have to get up and sort of pan it, and I guess the text will be backwards, but it reads, "Oh hey bro," and it's by the one and only Professor Rob Truszkowski.
Oh yeah.
And there's a really tight screen printed plant study. I'm gonna say about, yeah. Let's see, can I get it even? Yeah, it's so nice. And even the text, like, it's really smooth, and I find when I look at it, the shadows on the text I don't actually notice at first. They're sort of a fun surprise. And yeah, it's about 12 by 40 inches. So it's like
a banner.
Yeah, it's a banner, and it's kind of last night I was getting it out of the portfolio I have it in, and there were a few sort of like risky moments where I was like, oh god, oh, don't lose it.
It's so nice. I love the plant. Can you hold that up again? Is there like a how is the yellow? Is it all screen print?
It's all screen, yeah.
Looks like a little soft dither around the sides.
Gosh, I love that.
Yeah, it's very well done. Is it a CMYK print, or is it just like mauve black?
I think it's definitely more than the 4, I think. Like, I found when Rob was working, like, it was just layer after layer after layer after layer. He kind of was like, when is he going to stop? But it was always these really nice, I'm sure you guys have a few of his prints from exchanges.
We do, yeah.
And the same sort of thing. It's some of the imagery is like sort of humorous. It's like sort of a Microsoft Paint style, like there's one I think it's in the Flat Graphica portfolio. It's like a cartoon fish smoking a cigarette or something like that. But even, that printing is really, really tight. And the design work is really great as well. So it's awesome. Rob just gave a really good talk through, I don't know if it was through Slate Gallery. He has a show up right now there, but it was also associated with the Art Now Saskatchewan event.
Oh, okay.
But if it's online, I'd recommend checking it out. He talks a lot about his trip to Kyoto when he was a sessional. He was doing some teaching there. And just a lot about how that experience furthered his thinking of text and design, sort of thinking of like text as image, and some sort of, like double meanings that can start happening when you're thinking that way. So And then I guess, I don't know if I mentioned this, you guys know this, but Rob was my thesis supervisor. So I worked quite a bit with him, and we got to share a nice connection of having worked with Otis at Queen's for both of us in our undergrad. So yeah, a great couple of years working with Rob, and I was really pumped to do that exchange with him at the end of my MFA.
Yeah, that's a great piece. I was wondering the same thing, Morgan, if it was a spray paint stencil, because it has that feeling to it, but
I don't think, I might not, I don't know. When you get up quite close, you can see like what I think is the screen, you know, like the
mesh of the screen.
big mesh, yeah.
Mm.
But I mean, even still, I mean, it could, yeah, hard to say.
It's good. That's a good one. Our next one also has some text in it. We do flip these when we put them onto Patreon and like YouTube, so that the text isn't backwards. So this is just like a sweet little like experimental print that Kevin Merritt did when he was here, just trying out screen printing. So we were thinking, you're in Kingston, why not?
Kevin? I don't know if we've ever introduced you to Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah, I met him a few times when I was working at the art store here when I first came back to Kingston, and so you meet a lot of people in passing anyway through the art store.
That's true. That's so true.
So like he's an illustrator, and
I think
he's a jack of all trades. I would say he's like a legitimate jack of all trades. So he works at Wonderland, which not Canada's Wonderland, but Wonderland, the escape room in Kingston.
I think they're called Impossible Escapes.
Impossible Escapes?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like he's been working there doing like all of like kind of like the game design stuff, like, you know, like weird crap with like LCD screens and like video editing and like making gadgets and electrical things and so many different stuff. But like he's always wanted to do screen print, and so when he came to stay with us, he made a screen print. So this happens to be like just north of Princess Street on
it's like 2 blocks down
the
from
store
me.
famous.
The store famous.
Yeah, this corner store have bought me many different snacks from this corner store.
Yeah, it's just like, I feel like Kingston, when you live there, like any place, there's these kind of quintessential landmarks that everybody knows about, and this is definitely one of them. And I mean, for me, like something that I really love about Kevin as like a creative is that he really like pushes his practice into like a multitude of different avenues, and I think that that's like something that I really just like love about the way he's treated his practice. So, you know, he's an illustrator, he does personal work, he does like paintings, but then
storefront design, graphic design work,
and now he's working
some carpentry
in these this like game world where he gets to just like imagine whole environments, and it's almost like set design, but then there's also these like interactive elements. Like we were talking to him yesterday about this like puzzle that he had created that was basically like, it sounded like it had been like CNC'd, so he designed it, then it was like CNC'd in wood, and then like there were like all these interlocking components that like when you move them in the right way, it would like unlock a secret compartment. So not only are you like creating the visuals for that, but then you're creating the mechanics for it as well, which I just love it. And he was sort of saying then that like something that's really interesting about the game, like creating these games and these worlds for people to explore and interact with, is that like with like his creative practice, he's always having to like push into these new spaces and, you know, reconfigure and reimagine like how people are engaging with the pieces that he's making, which I really like love that so much.
We were talking to him about like how COVID hit, you know, like an escape room, for instance, like, yeah, pre-COVID makes sense. Post-COVID, like he was telling us how like he had to like readjust all of the games to be less contact. So like figuring out ways to like make an escape room workable, because like they opened up in like the summertime as per like, you know, I think the guidelines in Ontario.
Right.
But like what I really admire about Kevin is his flexibility. So like he just just can pick up something and just like figure it out, and had just like is very capable. And like we were talking about, like both him and I have had to learn a lot of video editing stuff this year because COVID.
Right.
And so like he's been learning a lot of After Effects, which is something that like I have yet to really dive into. But
yeah, this
store
little
famous.
simple 3-color screen print. So the drawing, I think, was first done, like sketched out by hand, and then brought into, he works a lot on a Surface tablet, so I think it was kind of worked in there, and then screen printed by hand in the shop.
Nice. And I love his storefront windows that he does downtown. You know, they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like,
great.
So that's our second share.
Oh geez, what will I pick?
Oh, I thought maybe you spent something or spilled a tea.
Oh yeah, I have nothing left because they're ruined with tea. Let's see if I.
That just made me think. So Brian, this one time we were doing a craft sale.
Oh my gosh.
It was like in this like kind of pavilion barn.
It was a
had
beautiful
Had
space.
the mezzanine around it, so a second floor. And I remember standing behind our table, and I'm like talking to somebody across from it, and drip, 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 clip, clip, plop, and from the second floor, somebody had spilled a coffee that dripped through the floorboards and onto our table. So I now just have a box full of coffee-stained prints and shit.
And textiles, like all these handmade textiles that I had done that weren't like sealed in anything, because at that point we didn't really want things all in plastic, which we very promptly changed after this experience.
Right.
Because it was like probably $500 worth of material just like destroyed by this coffee waterfall that splashed all over everything. Oh, it was bad.
So don't spill your tea.
Yeah.
Oh geez. Yeah. Okay. So my next pick here is by Jess Richter.
Oh, nice.
It is from, and maybe I'll show like the colophone page for that. It's from the Flat Graphica print portfolio exchange. In 1 second, I'll look it up.
This one has some nice like gold leafing in it.
Yeah, I don't. Oh yeah, you can sort of see the shine.
Yeah, you can pick up the shine.
Yeah.
It's super subtle.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's a very it's got a good autumn feel to it. So I thought it would be a good pick for today. Jess, I'm going to say, I hope I don't mess up her title. I think she is the director of the Art Gallery of Regina now. She was, she was my studio mate when I was in the program. So we shared a space down in printmaking together, and we lived in the same neighborhood too. So she was an early contact for me, and we spent quite a bit of time in the studio. And she was, I think, full-time as a curator at the AGR the whole time we were studying. So
seriously?
Wow.
Yeah, so a huge feat. And now she's the director at that space. So she's done really well for herself in that area, and her work keeps getting keeps developing. So it's very much inspired by her German heritage, looking back on the experience of her grandparents as immigrants to Canada and the prairies. Jess grew up in Nokomis, like a small town outside of Regina in Saskatchewan. And now she's doing some interesting work where she's sort of embodying these different characters that have been in her prints, sort of these self-portraits, and she's sort of like photo documentation performing some like seasonal rituals and things like that. So it's really quite eye-catching work and an interesting narrative sort of to the whole thing.
Oh, neat. That's awesome. I love that.
And maybe if I can here too, I was looking through this portfolio, and the three of us are featured in it as well, but it's just such a beautiful
it is
collection. And I wanted to give a shout out to Rob again, whose print I just showed, but also Elizabeth Ellich, who they did compile this whole thing. And anyway, I'll just kind of.
I know, I love the design of the title for it.
Yeah, this was a fun project to be part of.
Yeah, it was. For those of you who don't know, it was a printmaking symposium in Regina that included other individuals from the area who were coming out to participate in one way or another. And for me, it was really great because a lot of my work was about, my days growing up in Ontario, and it kind of brought people from my life here out to that space so I could share the exhibition with.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, it was a great way to bring it, I guess, sort of literally on home for me.
Yeah. I like this idea of her sort of embodying the characters that she's made in these prints. A friend of ours, I think we've shown one of John's pieces, he also like kind of has created a character that is not only in the prints but is like in his practice as like a, I don't know, living art persona, which I really I think that's, I don't know, there's just something very fun about that.
Yeah, there's do you know Jay Dart as well? He has a character like that as well. I'm trying to think of his name, but this sort of fictitious woodsman that sort of pokes fun at a lot of these Canadian narratives. And
that's fantastic. Okay, our last share is with you in mind. So there's two parts. Oh, it's all backwards. I wonder.
Ouch, the ink.
Let me spin. There's Kleenex. So there, that's the first one.
A mirror setup?
I just spun the camera around.
Yeah.
So this one is don't gouge the ink. And then...
Oh, awesome.
Do you mind cleaning before you go?
Were these from SGC?
They were part of us. They were at an SGC. They, I think, were like, I don't know if they were made for SGC, but they were made around that time. So
I think I remember being in 3rd or 4th year because I wasn't going yet to them, but Otis had gone and came back and thought they were, great.
Well, these ones, this one
Ohio University
is for Ohio University. So that our friend Josh, who's been a guest on Flash Files a couple times,
Directangle Press.
He was making these for the university. So they're passive aggressively brought to you by Ohio University Printmaking. But for those non-printmakers out there, these are like real gripes of a print shop. There's a few more in this series that we don't have here right now, where people like are working in a collaborative print shop, because that's something that's like so fundamentally unique about a printmaking studio that's like open to the public. Is it's not like a painting studio where, for the most part, painters are bringing their own supplies and they're using their own supplies. And if they decide to treat their supplies poorly, that's kind of their own problem to deal with. But in a print shop, usually all of the supplies are shared. And so if one person decides to treat the supplies poorly or the space poorly, it negatively impacts everybody. And I think especially in a school setting, this becomes like a real... Well, you, I'm sure, can speak to this. It can be a real handful to deal with students that are kind of sometimes deliberately wrecking things. I did a very short period of time of like being Jan's assistant in her 2nd year print class. And I remember coming back to the school for my shift. And in the sculpture studio, which was beside the downstairs print studio, so not the print studio, the sculpture studio, there were prints all over the floor. And then the leather litho rollers, which are only meant for like one job, and it is not 2nd year printmaking on woodcuts, was on the floor in the studio, covered in ink, flat on the floor. And so it had like just a full flat spot. It must have been sitting there all weekend. So the ink was all dried. There was flat. It was just awful. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go find Otis and tell him that this happened. And I don't actually know what the aftermath of this. A couple days later, they got the blankets stuck in part of the press, and they just cut the felt blankets with scissors instead of undoing the pressure and just pulling them out. It was just like, it was just chaos all the time. I couldn't believe it. So yeah.
Don't gouge the ink. This refers to when you have a can of nice ink and then somebody takes a palette knife and just digs in and scoops it out. And this is terrible because the ink dries and it wrecks the whole can of ink and you get a lot of crusty bits. And so you're supposed to like slowly plane down the top of the can of ink so that it preserves as much ink as possible. Otherwise you just end up with dried ink. So don't gouge.
You've got to love too the person who takes like their putty knife from using black or blue and they decide to go in for some white or yellow.
Yellow's the worst. And you're like, what's that blue streak in there? Cool, I have green now.
Yeah.
And it's like so much more overpowering and it's the littlest amount of blue and you're like, great. Okay.
Well, you wanted your print to look like a fruit roll-up, right? That was the idea.
Always.
So this one says, you mind cleaning before you go. And in the white text behind it says, give a shit. Which I imagine as a tech, you experience this all the time, where it's like a half-assed clean job or like nobody's just given any shits, period.
Well, the Queen students are pretty good. I'll give them that. And I do have to say Ryan Laidman is our print tech. So I'm, I guess, blessed with skipping out on the leather roller business. But, I can definitely sympathize from when I was a student there, too. Some of the things, I'm trying to think of what I find up in paint. And, I'm the health and safety guy for the building, too. So I kind of...
paint and sculpture. Oh, man.
Yeah, I discover these just little, like, fun things here and there, or... I'm sure we can all think of like sneaky things we were up to as students, right? And so it kind of like takes one to know one at times.
Oh, yeah. There were times where like I got really into enamel paint, but my paintings were like 8x8, so I couldn't drag them to the like room, which I've now learned wasn't even like a properly ventilated like spray room. Anywho, so I would just wait until like way after hours, and then I would just like lay all my paintings out in like the painting studio area upstairs and just pour a bunch of enamel, and it would just smell horrible, and people were always super pissed off at me, which fair. But I didn't know what else to do. It's not like you can bring them outside and leave them out there. So, not work with enamel would be the actual answer to that problem, but that I was, in undergrad, I was like, I'm going to work in what I want to work in, which... Yeah,
and I mean, it's kind of, I'm sure this has been your experience with residents too, as techs, we're trying to sort of figure out if a student wants to do something, we really do want to make it happen for them to the best of our ability. And like I'm thinking back my first year there, there were a few like cool, very ambitious projects, but definitely involved like a bit of workshopping. One girl, Jess Richter is her name. She built this cool shack. Someone with a sugar shack had dismantled it, and she went out and got all of the parts of the shack and brought it in and assembled it. And then of course there's the question, what do we do with the shack? And anyway, we were able to figure it out, and a really cool product in the end. But, all things I kind of love to, have to figure out. They keep it exciting, right?
It's true. I mean, yeah, I feel like we all were up to like some weird project or another. I do kind of like love that about school. I don't love it about like running a residency when people are doing things that you're like, no, my house, please don't burn it down.
Well, that's how I feel now when I'm in Ontario Hall.
This post about the indigo dye, that is brutal.
So Leanne wrote, as a fiber studio tech, I once had a student pour a pot of indigo dye like onto the fabric instead of dipping the fabric into the pot.
It's like, no. Especially if it's expensive indigo dye. It's like, ugh. Yeah. Not cool. Not cool.
No.
I had like a studio mate that's their artwork went moldy, like really bad mold. And the sculpture teacher, Kathleen, at the time was like, we need to get other people in here to deal with this, because like it's such a like health and safety problem that like I don't even want you to just take it apart yourself, because you're just gonna, I know, because you're students, you're just gonna crumble it into a garbage can and like release all these mold spores into the air. Yeah. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. All right, that's our last share.
Yeah.
Okay, what am I going to do here? Okay, I'll share this one, and then maybe we'll have time. I can like share one as an epilogue, you know?
Perfect.
Squirrels
eating a sculpture installation? What?
The Kingston squirrels, they're so bold. It's like another town's raccoon is our squirrel.
They really are.
This is framed, so it might be a little tough to see.
Maybe tilt it down a little.
Oh, there we go. So this is a chalk pastel drawing by Zachary Logan. Zachary's a really like prolific artist and awesome, just like awesome all around artist. He works in a range of media: drawing, painting, sculpture now, and I think he's done some print since I left Regina as well. I think Rob worked with him on a project. But a lot of the work is there's another series called The Wild Man, where it's himself morphing into different animals.
Cool.
And so I encountered Zachary as sort of an artist in the city who was he was around the university, but I don't think was teaching there the first year I was there. And then he was on staff doing teaching, and but is just doing a lot of exhibiting as well. So he's sort of, it seems like he's kind of teaching one week, and then he's exhibiting in like Milan the next week, and then he's over to New York. And so he was sort of an exciting person to experience, and just as an emerging artist, thinking of some like potential avenues one could go someday. And then it was very cool. He was a McMichael Gallery artist in resident as well, and it was for the anniversary of Tom Thompson's death. And so it was, anyway, Zachary ended up showing, I believe the show's called Passion Over Reason, and it's Joyce Whelan, Tom Thompson, and Zachary. And I just thought, who gets to show with these people, right?
Yeah.
What a cool project. So yeah, he's very interesting to watch work too, because he is a real worker. Like the work, this is quite a small piece, but you'd go into a studio and like massive sheets of paper and kind of pastel everywhere all over the walls, and but new work always coming out, right? So yeah, really interesting artist to experience anyway.
That is
Cool.
so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really delicate piece, and I like the color palette, like the colored paper,
Yeah.
and then
With pastels, like that's
just
impressive.
so clean.
Pastels really feel like
It's-
crayons to me,
it's-
and this does not feel like a crayon.
It's so
Yeah.
soft, and the shadow is like really beautiful and delicate. Yeah, I like that a lot.
As when I was driving, I drove home from Regina with my dad, and we had all of the, all of my work and whatever I had sort of accumulated out there packed up in the back of the car. And this was one where I really like held my breath for when I opened it back up, and was so glad it was still, looking good. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, those were great shares. I really
Did you have a
like
bonus
that.
one? We have time for a bonus one.
Yeah, we do have time for a bonus.
Oh,
one.
sure.
Toss one in.
Okay, so I thought
Price is
this
Right
was
bonus
sort of,
music.
and yeah, I don't know if you can hear the kids screaming outside, but maybe that like sets the stage. I thought this was sort of a good like Halloweeny print. And this one is not associated at all with my time in Regina. Um, do, do, do. So
Oh,
this is a woodcut by Kim Dorland, and it's his
sweet.
partner Lori as a vampire.
Yeah, because he was doing all those like portraits of her for like a whole year almost, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think she's I'm pretty sure he's described her as like the muse in his work, like she's a regular motif.
Yeah.
But I really like this print for different reasons. I met Kim when he was the Kerner artist in resident at Queen's, and so just kind of as a result of my role there, I got to be quite involved with him during that time, and we kind of hit it off. I think our work is not totally dissimilar. We're both looking a lot
similar
at
themes.
Yeah, times from our adolescence in some different contexts, and there's definitely an overlapping theme of nature and but then it's such a, if you can see the back, like the pressure is really cranked, and it reminds me a lot, like it sort of translates the feeling of if you've seen his paintings, right? These big gobs of oil and really emphasizing the medium. So I'm a big fan of it.
This is a great print.
This is also perfect October print.
That mouth is also very well done.
Love it.
And the print, this was a result of a trade as well, and I traded the print that you showed in the Flat Files session. That's called Enter Ideal. So it's a picture of a group of kids just kind of walking out in the woods, and it's carved in a similar vein, very hand carved and from a drawing, obviously, but just sort of this like a nice spookiness, if that makes sense,
That print is fantastic.
Yeah, the print of yours too does have like a very uncomfortable feeling to it, even though I know that the like history on it is not an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I really like that print because I did that just before finishing up my undergrad, I think, and it was sort of one of the first aesthetics, I guess, that kind of really stuck with my work. Like I think I kept going in that direction afterwards. And it was also the first summer where I wasn't on staff at the summer camp I had worked at anymore. So I was sort of like bummed about that and really nostalgic, but also excited to be seeing what else I'd be doing with all of this time, right? And I think there's sort of that tension in the nostalgia of wanting to look back and this feeling of separation from that time in one's life that's again, it's quite nice, but then it's also a little creepy, like going back in a dream and seeing a space or something like that.
Yeah.
Or seeing, your wife as a vampire.
I know, that's a great print. Like a large print too. Good trade.
Yeah, I think 16 by 20, I think.
Yeah.
For an original Kim Dorland print?
Yeah, well done. Yeah. That's really nice.
So good.
Perfect. That's a great ending print. I love it.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah. Well,
I guess happy Thanksgiving this weekend.
Oh, yeah, it is Thanksgiving this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow, right?
Whatever that's going to look like for everybody.
Yeah.
Just eat something yummy, even if it's by yourself. I think that's, as long as there's like some kind of baked element in your meal plan for the
little
weekend.
stovetop.
Yeah, some stuffing, whatever, dressing, your call. If you don't
Can
have
you hear that?
Stuff in.
Oh.
I could hear something.
Yeah,
but...
they called Billy again.
Oh, poor Billy.
Oh.
But But this was really
This was
good.
nice
Thanks
chatting
so
with you,
much
man.
for
Oh,
coming
yeah.
on and sharing and hanging out with us for a bit of Friday afternoon.
What's next on your end? Are there any projects kind of coming up at the studio, or are you sitting tight for now?
Secret plan. I'm looking to try and apply for a grant for one of the upcoming OAC.
Secret plan that we've
Secret
now
plan.
broadcasted. Yeah.
But I'm going to apply for an OAC grant for non-toxic litho research.
Oh, nice.
So like Otis was here the other day and he stopped by the studio and like we pulled out all these litho stones that were in like crates from when the Station Gallery in Whitby donated stuff to us. So
That's the Nick Novak studio?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So like we have all of these stones, we have levigator, we have carborundum, I have like gum arabic, I got like kind of everything except nitric acid. But I don't want to go down the nitric acid route, but I want to apply for a grant to try to do non-toxic litho research. Or at least less toxic litho research. Let's be real about the toxicities.
Yeah. It's nothing is like completely 100% non-toxic.
Pretty excited about that. We just started writing that grant and I'm pretty jazzed about it.
Nice. I tried to find one of my kitchen litho prints from our last kind of experience together there, but it's like down in the drawer. So I went with just what was up over here. But
you're like, I didn't want to dig that deep. That's fair.
I was like, this is flat enough. Yeah. But I did, I shared it like right before the talk. So I guess if people go on and they check the story beforehand, yeah, that was a great project and sort of a cool, I don't know, doing work with a non-toxic process like that's great because you sort of have to wrap your head around all of this new stuff, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, and we need to update that and we need to put out some like additional resources just as like support. So that will be like hopefully part of the funding request.
Yeah. Like right now we're not running the residency.
Right.
COVID. So like we're trying to figure out how we can keep making stuff and keep supporting and stay open. And right now I think I'm leaning pretty hard into like trying to apply for some grants to do some research projects. I'm pretally excited about them actually right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's on the agenda. What about you?
Oh, I'm well. Right now, I'm just finishing up a class at the Agnes, which that's the gallery here in Kingston on Queen's campus, and it's been over Zoom, which is interesting. My first time doing any kind of Zoom teaching, and surprisingly, I did think it was going to be a little awkward and kind of slow. I planned to have way more material than I needed, and I find it's a 2-hour class every week and it flies by, and so I don't know, I'm loving it, and it's sort of it makes it exciting to think about the potential to be able to do classes or these kinds of experiences, and I should say it's in cyanotype as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's been fun. There's one of the challenges with it though is that we are printing, we're doing sun prints, so we're no one has a UV setup at home. We're all basing it off of that it's going to be a sunny day. And as it's over Zoom, not everyone is in Kingston. There's one participant in California, one in Vancouver. So, we were having these conversations around exposure time, and the woman in California said, well, I only had to expose mine for 3 minutes. And I said, well, yeah, your California 3 is our Ontario 30.
Yeah.
So it's been, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. It's there's 9 women in the class, and once a week for 2 hours, and everyone's got a great attitude about sort of doing things over Zoom and how to approach it and be flexible. So yeah, I hope we're able to do it again, and I'll be bummed when it's over.
Oh, well, you'll just do it again.
Yeah, the 3 of us can just do it.
Yeah. We have some cyanotype stuff here, so
we haven't exposed you to it, so we don't have to talk about
yeah.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. That's nice that the Agnes has like a system in place too, because it's such a great space.
Yeah, they do. They've got a program called Art Hive that I don't know if it's already started, but It's on the Agnes website, but I think anyone can take it as kind of a drop-in creative type thing. So definitely, again, like worth looking into. I think if you're sort of sketching at home or making anything and you just want some people to chat with and whatever else.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Sweet.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, it was great talking to you guys.
Same.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for joining and sharing hilarious studio stories. Maybe we should do one where we just talk about like funny stuff that happens in schools. But yeah, no, it was really lovely, and we hope you have like a great Thanksgiving and a lovely October if we don't talk to you again before the end of it.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
We should still, maybe there's a world where we can have a picnic table coffee before it's snowing, and who knows.
Yeah.
I can bundle up if you guys can.
Okay, we can totally bundle up. Definitely. All right.
Okay, see you later.
Bye.